بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع، من قلب لا يخشع، ومن نفس لا تشبع، ومن دعوة لا تسمع. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربع. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا. نعم. حياكم الله جميعا في الدرس العشرين في شرح منهج السالكين وتوضيح الفقه في الدين، المؤلف للشيخ عبد الرحمن بن ناصر السعدي، المتوفى سنة 76 و300 وألف للهجرة، رحمه الله رحمة واسعة وأسكنه فسيح جناته. ثم أما بعد، فوقفنا عند قول المصنف: وينبغي أن يتقدم الإمام. In this مسألة, المصنف says: وينبغي أن يتقدم الإمام وأن يتراص المأمومون ويكملون الأول بالأول. طيب. When he says وينبغي, what do you derive from this? That what is the hukum of the Imam um, standing in front of the ma'mumin?
Sheikh, do you mean like the meaning of the word yambaghi?
No, what ruling can you derive according to the Musannif? What does the Musannif think about this, that the Imam should stand in front of the ma'mumin? ينبغي, does it mean that is it a shart for the sihha of the jama'ah, for the validity of the salat, or is it a sunnah?
Sheikh, like is this considered from the from istihbab? Is it from mustahab?
نعم، هذا الأصل، لكن تصح الصلاة even if the imam was standing along with the المأمومين. طيب. What is the meaning of تراص وأن يتراص المأمومون؟ we hear the imam.
The row should be like straight. Rows should be straight.
The rows should be straight, and also they should their bodies should touch each other.
Each other, like each other. Yes.
Now, what is this word taras taken from? Do you know the meaning of rasas? No.
That is from the metal, the lead or something.
Yes. So what is the meaning? What is the relation between lead and this?
Sheikh, is it also like something to do with the arrow, used for arrows also? Arrows also.
Wallahi, that I'm not sure, but they should join together in a way that as if they are a wall. As if they are a wall. Taras. When something joins together firmly, this is referred to as taras, or you can say they resemble a structure or a wall made of lead. For example, in Surah As-Saff, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala مثلا says, إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص. So what kind of a bunyan is bunyan marsus? Solid, concrete. That's the meaning. So as if their bodies touch each other, and they stand in a way that they look like a solid and a concrete structure. Now, طبعا here in regards to the ayah, it's referring to their steadfastness, because of course while fighting you need a bit of space. It wouldn't be that you have to stay all together, generally, but here it's referring to the figurative meaning more than the physical solidness of the you can say of the army of the Muslim army. نعم. قال وأن يتراص المأمومون. طيب هذا مستحب واجب تراص عن تسوية الصفوف.
I think this is this is mustahab.
مستحب أعلى يعني قول الأكثر، لكن الذي يظهر يعني in some of the hadith the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم also mentioned وعيد. يعني there's for يعني أمر for sure, there is a command. The command can be interpreted as wajib or mustahab, that we can look into. But يعني there is, for example, the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir in Bukhari and Muslim. It says, the Prophet said, لا تسون صفوفكم أو لا يخالفن الله بين وجوهكم. لا تسون صفوفكم أو لا يخالفن الله بين وجوهكم. يعني either you will be straightening your rows, and تسوية الصفوف generally it refers to straightening the row, but يعني it also refers to يعني attaching and connecting the shoulders and the feet with each other, because يعني Anas radiallahu anh, يعني he mentions in the you can say in the explanation of the Prophet's statement that سووا صفوفكم, he would say, Anas radiallahu anh said, كان أحدنا يلزق منكبه بمنكب صاحبه. يعني one of us would attach and join his shoulder with the shoulder of the one who is next to him, وقدمه بقدمه, and his feet with the feet of the person next to him. So this is the you can say this is the tafsir of taswiyat as-saf. This is the tafsir of taswiyat as-saf. And then we find the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, warning against not straightening the rows and standing, not making the rows properly in salat, saying لا تسوون صفوفكم أو لا يخالفن الله بين وجوهكم, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause disputes amongst you. And also in one of the hadiths of that was narrated by Abu Mas'ud al-Badri, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يمسح مناكبنا في الصلاة ويقول استووا. يعني he would check on them during when they would stand for prayer, and he would say استووا ولا تختلفوا فتختلف قلوبكم. يعني so this again, فتختلف قلوبكم, يعني if you يعني don't make the rows in the proper manner, this would be a cause for the disputes and differences. So this goes on to indicate that those who said that it is wajib, like it is also the preference or the tarjih of Imam al-Bukhari and Ibn Hazm, Ibn Taymiyyah, Shawkani, Shaykh al-Taymiyyah, they also have a very solid base for this. طيب ثم قال ويكملون الأول بالأول. يكملون الأول بالأول يعني إيش؟ الأول what should they, what is the يكملون يعني they should complete and fill الأول. الأول ماذا? What first what?
Row.
First row. ممتاز. يعني يتمون الصف الأول فالأول. In the hadith of Jabir bin Samurah, the Prophet ﷺ said, ألا تصفون كما تصف الملائكة عند ربها. Do you not want to make rows the way the angels make rows with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? قال فقلنا يا رسول الله وكيف تصف الملائكة عند ربها? How do the malaika make the rows in front of Allah? قال يتمون الصفوف الأولى ويتراصون في الصف. This is in the Sahih Muslim. They first they fill the rows, the first one and then the next one and the next one. This is the first sifa, and the second sifa was ويتراصون في الصف. They make a solid row and join each other's join their مثلا you can say with the malaika, just like we join our shoulders and feet, they would do the same. Also in the hadith of Anas radiallahu anh, it is narrated in Musnad Imam Ahmad and Sunan Abi Dawood, Sa'i, etc. He reported that the Prophet said, أتم الصف الأول والذي يليه وإن كان نقص فليكن في الصف الآخر. يعني complete the first first row and then the next one, and if there is any kind of a naqs, any kind of if there is absence of people, that should be in the last saf. That should be in the last صف. فهذا الذي يظهر أن هذا أيضا يعني الذي يظهر because of the أمر of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم and his encouragement. يعني those who said that it's wajib, they also have a very يعني good دليل for it. نعم. ننتقل الآن للمسألة التالية. يقول المصنف. نعم تفضل.
Those who say it is wajib, in their opinion, like if someone does not forms this rows, like they deliberately do not form it, so as per their opinion, so will the salah be like invalidated?
The salah won't be invalidated according to this opinion, and he will be sinful for not following the command.
Okay, so thing is that when confusion is there in the mind, we have the actions in salah, shurut and arkan and wajibat, sunan. So what istilah or what term which should we use like for actions like these, that it is compulsory, you should do this, but if you don't do this, if it's not done, sinful, but the salah or your rakah or your salah will not be invalidated. So we have term for shart, rukn, wajib. So what should we exactly I hope I am able to convey it properly. Like the term, it is wajib, but if you don't do it, then it will not be like the salah will be okay, but you will be sinful. Which category should we place this type of thing?
Asl is that this is considered wajib, and wajib, with regards to wajib, the asl is that a person is sinful for it. But the only thing is that with the wajibat of salat that are inside the salat or that are not specific to the jama'ah, the ones that we discussed in wajibat of salat, there some of the ulama, they say that if you deliberately leave out a wajib, then that invalidates your salat. That is, but those wajibat that are inside the salat, they're related to the sifa of the salat. So generally, wajib is the category that this would fit best into. If you say that if you leave it out, you will be sinful, but your salat will be sahihah. So generally, you would put it in the category of wajib, because if you put it in the category of rukun, that would mean the salat would be invalid. If you put it in the category of sharta, which means that it's an action outside of the salat, but it makes invalidates the salat if you leave it out. Again, that would not be true. So wajib is the category where you'll be putting it in, but then perhaps you might be confused due to the fact that when we were discussing the arkan and wajibat of salat, the musannif had mentioned that if you leave out the wajib on purpose, then this will invalidate the salat. So this, you can say, that's related to the wajibats that are common for the salat of the individual, salat jama'ah. Those are the wajibats that we are talking about, and actually still we still are looking for a dalil for that mas'ala as well, inshallah. Once someday, if we find it, I will inshallah certainly share it with you.
Okay, so we'll when it comes to jama'ah, then we'll exclude this, or something we'll just say that it will be acceptable, but one will be sinful.
Yes, we wouldn't say the salat for deliberately leaving it out, for deliberately not performing this wajib, that the salat will be invalid. No, we wouldn't say that. We would treat it in a way different to the way that we treat the other wajibat of salat, like wajibat qawliya, like tashahhud awwal, or saying rabbana wa lakal hamd, or etc. The other wajibat that are there in the salat, they take a different kind of a hukum. They're a different category, and this one is a different category. And especially given the difference of opinion, we wouldn't dare invalidate someone's salah.
Okay, can I ask one more question?
No, tafadhal.
From the when we stand in the saf, so what is the kayfiyya actually? How should we stand? We should ensure each and every body part of ours faces the qibla, or it is just our feet faces the leg? Because people I've seen this is what we see. Like people usually stand in a V shape, like if like as if their feet is a scissor, like a V shape. I've seen like most of the people in my lifetime. I've seen like they stand like with their feet being like a scissor, like a V letter in
Yes, yes,
English.
yes.
So this
Sahih.
is I've seen like most of the people. So like, is this way is it is okay, or should we also try to keep as much as possible? The feet also should be like facing the qibla, like the finger also.
Wallahi,
It should be towards the
one
qibla.
of my mashayikh he had asked me to correct this, and he said that your feet should also be straight. I didn't ask if it is okay to keep it in a V shape, but he said that why can't you keep your feet straight, yani facing the qibla, so that all of the whole foot joins with my foot, and because he was standing next to me, so he asked me like, don't keep the feet in the V shape because in this way, the whole of the foot wouldn't join with with my foot. So he said that can't you keep your feet straight? I said I can, inshallah. He said then do so. And so as if he said that unless it is for some kind of an udhr, the asal is that you should keep your feet straight facing the qibla, not in the V shape. That's the asal, Allah. You're right, yani,
Yeah,
even I
and
have
Sheikh,
noticed the
like
same.
when
Everyone, they put the feet in a V shape.
yes,
SubhanAllah.
yes, and if we keep it in that shape, like if we keep that shape, then the only just a few portion of the feet is like touched with the other with the person next to us. So just a
Exactly.
little finger or some touches, like so.
Exactly.
Uh, so we should. Is this correct? Like if we say that we should try to touch the feet, like the two persons are standing, like they should, as much as possible, they should touch their feet with each other as much as possible. So should we say like this, or just if one finger touches it is okay, or should we go for like to try as much as it touches? So
Wallahi,
is this correct?
the
Like
asal is yes, because the Anas radiallahu anhu, he mentioned كان أحدنا يلزق منكبه بمنكب صاحبه وقدمه بقدم. So when he says qadam, the asal is that as much as we can, most part of it. One
okay,
finger
Jazakallah.
wouldn't suffice. والله أعلم. طيب يقول المصنف رحمه الله ومن صلى فذا يعني individually أو alone ركعة خلف الصف one ركعة even if it is one rak'ah, not the whole of the salat, but even if it is one rak'ah, he prayed behind the saf. لغير عذر أعاد صلاته. If it is for no عذر, for no excuse, genuine excuse, then he will have to repeat his prayer. What is the dalil for this? The dalil for this is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. من صلى خلف الصف أو لا صلاة للذي خلف الصف. There is no salat for someone who prays behind the saf. Now, so this if if it is a person who's ma'dur, doesn't find space in the row ahead of him or in front of him, then of course, and in this case the salat is sahiha. But if it is done without any udhr, then the salat will be batila. Why did he say one rak'ah? Why not any? How about, for example, if you prayed two rak'ahs without udhr behind the saf, and by the time it was the third rak'ah of Maghrib, someone joined you in the saf behind. So will this make your salat? Wouldn't this make your salat sahiha? Question, man.
Can you please repeat?
I'm saying that when the hadith says, for example, لا صلاة للذي خلف الصف. لا صلاة للذي خلف الصف. There is no salat for someone who's behind the saf. So we said that if someone prays one rak'ah without udhr behind the saf, and alone, individually behind the saf, and he doesn't have any udhr for not joining the row in front of him, or the row hasn't yet been filled. So the Musannif said if he prays one whole rak'ah like this, then his salat will be invalid. So why didn't the Musannif say that if he prays the whole salat like this, then his salat would be invalid? And even if he finds, what I'm trying to say is that in the case that, for example, in Salat al-Maghrib, a person comes to the masjid, he prays behind the saf alone individually, يعني for 2 rak'ahs with the imam, he doesn't join the row ahead of him, that is in front of him. And then by the 3rd rak'ah, someone comes in and joins him in the row that he was in. In this way, he wasn't يعني alone in the saf anymore. So according to the Musannif, this salat will be invalid, right? Because he prayed more rak'ah or more than 1 rak'ah behind the saf for no udhr. So what I'm asking is that why didn't the fact that a person joined him in the 3rd rak'ah, why didn't this make his salat valid?
Sheikh, is it because like from the first instance, like he joined, uh, like he was never a part of the thing. Like he was never a part of the he was not, from the moment he joined, he was not a part of the Jama'ah. This
Ahsant.
was like accidental, like he joined it.
Because when it says
He
la
was not a part of
salata,
the Jama'ah.
ahsant, whenever a hadith says la salata, then this kind of what is mentioned in the hadith applies to each rak'ah. Applies to each rak'ah. For example, when the Prophet says la salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihatil kitab, no one can come and say, okay, I didn't read the Fatiha in the first 2 rak'ahs, but I did read it in the 3rd rak'ah. لا نقول لا الركعتان الأوليان هاتان لا تصحان. The first 2 rak'ahs will not be valid, because when it says لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ, this kind of a hadith applies to each rak'ah on its own. Each rak'ah on its own. So likewise, لا صلاة لمن صلى خلف الصف أو لا صلاة للذي خلف الصف, this wouldn't this would apply to each rak'ah on its own. And that is why the Musannif, he said من صلى فذا ركعة, and even if it's 1 rak'ah خلف الصف لغير عذر أعاد صلاته. طيب، قال في المسألة التالية: وقال ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما: صليت مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات ليلة فقمت عن يساره فأخذ برأسي من ورائي فجعلني عن يميني. This mas'ala, which he mentioned in the form of a hadith, goes on to show that the asl is that if there are only 2 people praying, then in this case the asl is that the ma'moom will be on the right side. The ma'moom will be on the right side. Also, and if there are more than 2 people, then of course they will stand behind. That is known from the hadith of Anas radiallahu anh, in which he mentions that the Prophet ﷺ had visited their house and he led them in prayer. فقام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وصففت واليتيم وراءه. I and the yatim, there were 2, so they made a row behind the Prophet ﷺ. وَالْعَجُوزُ مِنْ وَرَائِنَا. And Sulaym, she prayed behind them. So if there are 2 people, they are supposed to be behind the Imam. If there is 1, he's supposed to be next to the Imam. This hadith also goes on to show that if someone prays behind the saf while he's alone for an udhr, then his salat is sahihah. For example, here the mother of Anas, Sulaym, she prayed behind the saf. She was alone in the saf, and her salat was sahihah because there was no one else to accompany her. So likewise, for example, if the row has been filled, that is in front of you, and you reach the masjid, you don't find anyone else in the new row, in the new saf, فلا بأس. Lakin if there is a place in the row in front of you and you still don't join it, then in this case your salat will be باطلة. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: إذا سمعتم الإقامة فامشوا إلى الصلاة وعليكم السكينة والوقار. When you hear the iqamah, then walk to the salat and do not run towards it, and you should adhere to عليكم السكينة والوقار. You should adhere to tranquility and peace and dignity. ولا تسرعوا, and do not haste. فما أدركتم فصلوا, whatever you catch of the salat, and then offer it with the imam. وما فاتكم فأتموا, and whatever you miss out on, then complete it later on. طيب, later on means complete it after the imam finishes. And وفي الترمذي قال إذا أتى أحدكم الصلاة والإمام على حال فليصنع كما يصنع الإمام. But the hadith before it, when it says وما فاتكم فأتموا, هنا مسألة the part of the salat that you catch with the imam, is that your first part or is it your second? Yani, for example, you enter the salat with the imam, salat al-isha, 2 rak'ahs you missed out on them, and you entered with the imam in the third rak'ah. So for the imam, this is the third rak'ah and fourth rak'ah. What will it be considered for you? Will it be considered for you the first 2 rak'ahs, or will it be considered for you the third and fourth rak'ahs?
It should be like considered first raka because I joined it this first for me.
طيب.
So it should be.
هنا يعني اختلف العلماء. الإمام الشافعي in particular he says يعني وما فاتكم فأتموا. He says because the hadith says فأتموا, and he says the itmam always happens at the end of something. So based on this, he says that the rak'ahs that you will be praying with the imam will be your first and second, because so that the itmam that you do after the salat, the completion that you do, happens at the end of your salat, which will be the third and fourth rak'ahs. That will be the third and fourth rak'ahs. On the other hand, the Jumhur, they say that this will be your third and fourth rak'ah. And what you will be completing after the salat will be your first and second, and they base it on the hadith or on the other wording of the hadith, which is فَمَا أَدَرْتُمْ فَصَلُّوا وَمَا فَاتَكُمْ فَقْضُوا. And whatever you miss out on, then make up for it. Here, the Jumhur, their qawl, Imam Shafi'i bases mostly, his qawl is based on the meaning of itmam. He says because itmam happens at the end. The Jumhur, they, when they look, if you look at the hadith says فَمَا أَدْرَكْتُمْ فَصَلُّوا. Whatever you catch of the salat, then offer it. So when you say ma adraktum, whatever you catch of the salat, this is the lafz which is generic. It is inclusive of all that you, all of the characteristics of those 2 rak'ahs. And in our example, we had 2 rak'ahs, right? So فَمَا أَدْرَكْتُمْ فَصَلُّوا. So whatever of the salat you catch, and when you say whatever, ma بمعنى الذي, this is a lafz 'am, inclusive of all that is in those 2 rak'ahs. So generally, amongst those traits is the fact that it is the third and fourth rak'ah. Then it says وَمَا فَاتَكُمْ, and the one that you missed out on, فَأَتِمُّوا فَأَتِمُّوهُ أي فَقْضُوهُ. The dhamir hasn't been mentioned here because the a'id, which is the dhamir that you use along with the ism mawsool, it is sometimes permissible to drop it off. مثلا واتقوا الله الذي أو واتقوا الله الذي أنتم به مؤمنون. هنا the dhamir has been mentioned, but مثلا مثلا تقول جاء الذي ضربت. جاء الذي ضربت. The asal is to say جاء الذي ضربته. The one you hit has come. But it is permissible to say جاء الذي ضربت without mentioning the maf'ul bihi, because it is referring to the ism mawsul. So وَمَا فَاتَكُمْ فَأَتِمُّوا, here the asal, the meaning is وَمَا فَاتَكُمْ فَأَتِمُّوهُ or فَقْضُوهُ. So based on this, that the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to complete or make up what we missed out on, that very thing that you missed out on. And what you missed out on were the first 2 rak'ahs. So because the lafz is 'am, and this is ism mawsool, it's 'am, it will be inclusive of all of the traits of the first 2 rak'ahs, or most of the traits of the first 2 rak'ahs, whatever is possible. Then you will have to, so this is why it seems like wallahu alam that the qawl of the jumhur is perhaps more strong than the qawl of Imam al-Shafi'i. Sheikh Muhammad Ali Adam al-Ethiopi, I read in Sharh al-Masaa'il of his that he also used to prefer this qawl, wallahu alam, the qawl of the jumhur, that what you have to make up is the first 2 rak'ahs instead of the third and fourth. So what you caught with the imam will be considered the third and fourth. And the one that you missed out on, that is the one that you will be making up. الله أعلم. هذا الذي يذكر. قال في الترمذي إذا أتى أحدكم الصلاة والإمام على حال فليصنع كما يصنع الإمام. And this hadith is also important in the sense that يعني this hadith, even though it's يعني it has ضعف in it, it's not as ضعيف, but يعني there are other ahadith that are that for example the hadith of the two men who did not pray with the jama'ah. There's another hadith, subhanallah. Yesterday, the hadith that we mentioned of the two men who were in Masjid Khaif, who did not pray with the Jama'ah. Also, the hadith of subhanallah, hadith. Now, the other hadith is the hadith that has been mentioned in Sunan Abi Dawood, and in which the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا جئتم إلى الصلاة ونحن سجود فاسجدوا ولا تعدوها شيئا ومن أدرك ركعة فقد أدرك الصلاة. So when the Prophet said إذا جئتم إلى الصلاة ونحن سجود فاسجدوا, so this goes on to show that if you enter the salat and imam is in a particular position, you have to enter the salat in that position as well. You don't have to wait for the imam to get up for the next rak'ah. Also here in this hadith, which is not ضعيف, it mentions وإذا أتى أحدكم الصلاة, the hadith الترمذي that Musannif has mentioned, والإمام على حال فليصنع كما يصنع الإمام. What is noticed these days, sometimes, especially in Saudi Arabia, we find people when they enter the salat, they wait for the imam. They wait for the imam to get up for the next rak'ah, and then they enter the salat. What do they miss out on? They sometimes miss out on lots of dhikr and tashahhud. They sometimes miss out on sujood, ruku', not ruku', of course, but sujood, two sujood sometimes they miss out on. Why? They think that you're supposed to enter the salat when the imam is in the standing. This is wrong. Rather, you're supposed to enter the salat in whatever position the imam is in. And imagine you're missing out on two sujood. The sujood, it's subhanallah, it raises your rank and elevates your rank, and you're missing out on this kind of an opportunity in all of the dhikr that you will be doing with the sujood just because you're being lazy. So this is incorrect to do, and rather one should enter the salat in whatever position he finds the imam in. طيب. ثم قال المصنف رحمه الله باب صلاة أهل الأعذار, people who have نعم تفضل.
Sheikh, there is a confusion, if we are entering the salah and the imam is doing sujood, imam is in the position of sujood. So should we raise our hands? Should we say the takbir and raise our hands and then go to the sujood, then perform the sajda, or should we directly should go into the sajda, or should we just by after saying Allahu Akbar, or should we raise our hands and then go into the sujood position if we are joining from the sujood position? So should we raise our hands or not?
The raising your hands wouldn't, you mean after having raised your hands for takbirat al-ihram, you raise your hands again for sujood? That's what you're asking?
No, Sheikh. Just I entered the masjid. Okay, I am in the saf, standing in the saf. I am about to initiate the salah. So should I raise my hands and should I say the takbir once and go into the sujood, or should I not say the takbir? I just directly say Allah. Should I not raise the hand? I have to say the takbir. So I should say the takbir and go to the sujood position, or I should also raise the hands along with that. Just one takbir. And
asl is that there should be two takbir, one for entering the salah, that's takbir al-ihram, the second one for the sujood, and hence you will be raising your hands for takbir al-ihram, and not raising your hands for the takbirah for the sujood. هذا الأصل. I think if you remember, we also mentioned this mas'ala when it came to the arkan of the salat. We said that some of the scholars or some of the du'at, they say that, oh, if you only do one takbir and you go into the ruku directly, your salat is batila. But we said that this is not, inshallah, the case, because sometimes, inshallah, one takbir can count for both takbirat al-ihram and for ruku', just like it counts for takbirat al-ihram and the qiyam. But generally the asl, we said that it was to say two takbirs, takbirat al-ihram and separate takbirah for the ruku'. So likewise, takbirat al-ihram, you raise your hands, and then a separate takbir for the sujood. Wallahu a'lam. قال باب صلاة أهل الأعذار, those people who cannot perform the salat in jama'ah, or cannot perform the salat, for example, in the positions that are sunnah, like in standing or while إلى آخر ذلك. So how are they supposed to offer their salat? طبعا عذر means some kind of excuse that one would have. Maybe it can be marad, is illness. It can be safar, travel. It can be khawf. Khawf, for example, you are fearful for your wealth, or for some of your family members, they are exposed to some kind of danger while the salat is going on, etc. Generally, if something is very difficult, too difficult for someone to attend the salat, for example, someone is you can say overweight, overly obese, cannot walk too much, مثلا, or you take the same ruling as مريض almost, or مثلا on the way to the masjid, he might have to face some kind of a danger, or some kind of wild animals, etc. These are all types of أعذار that are possible. طيب, قال والمريض يعفى عنه حضور الجماعة. والمريض يعفى عنه حضور الجماعة. The marid, he is excused and exempted from attending the jama'ah. طيب. And likewise, the other people who have this kind of a مشقة, or this kind of an udhr, they will also they take the same hukum as the marid. طيب, قال one of the adilla for this is the fact that the Prophet ﷺ himself, while he was ill, he prayed in his home, and there is ijma' as well upon this. There is ijma' and this as well. But طبعا this what kind of a marad will exempt you from attending the jama'ah? The marad with which it is very difficult and hard to attend the jama'ah, not as a very light or marad or a light headache. This kind of a marad wouldn't exempt you from attending the jama'ah. طيب, ثم قال نعم, وإذا كان القيام يزيد مرضه صلى جالسا. If he prays while standing, if this will aggravate his condition and worsen his condition, worsen his illness, يزيد مرضه, increase his illness, صلى جالسا, then in this case he will pray while he's in the sitting position. فإن لم يطق, that even if it is not possible for him then to pray while sitting, على جنب, then on his side, while lying down. لقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لعمران بن حسين أنه صلي قائما فإن لم تستطع فقاعدا. إن لم, this لهم is قطع. فإن لم تستطع فقاعدا فإن لم تستطع فعلى جنب. So this is the asl, that you're supposed to pray in standing position. As you mentioned, the qiyam is a rukun, and هذه الأركان لا تسقط إلا لعذر, إلا مع العجز. So the wajib and the rukun, generally they are not you're not exempted from them, except if you have this complete ajz, you're unable to perform them. So if you are not able to, then you are allowed to offer the prayer in the sitting position. But here it is important to take into notice the fact that it is only when there is ajiz, an inability to perform the salat in the standing position. Some women folk, in some Muslim communities, they tend to be very, you can say, they tend to be a little reckless about this hukum, and they tend to very often offer salat with the slightest of pains in the sitting position. Then this is wrong. If they are able to stand up and they wouldn't have to face lots of hardship, lots of mashaqqa for praying in the standing position, then if they pray in the sitting position, then the salat will be batila. The salat will be invalid. So sometimes there is a lot of complacency and recklessness with regards to this, and they take this matter easy. No, you should realize that the qiyam is a rukun in the salat. It must be fulfilled unless and until there is a proper udhr for not playing in the standing position. ثم قال الشيخ رحمه الله: وإن شق عليه فعل كل صلاة في وقتها فله الجمع بين الظهر والعصر وبين العشاءين في وقت إحداهما. If it is difficult for him to pray each salat at its time, فله الجمع بين الظهر والعصر, then it is he's permissible for him to combine ظهر and عصر and combine the عشاءين, the Maghrib and Isha في وقت إحداهما, in the time of one of the two. And the dalil for this, as we have discussed before once, the hadith of Ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم جمع بين الظهر والعصر وبين المغرب والعشاء في المدينة من غير سفر ولا مطر أو من غير خوف ولا مرض، أو كما قال رضي الله عنهما. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, once he combined ظهرين and عشاءين without an udhr. So what was the purpose of that? Ibn Abbas was asked, he said, أراد ألا يحرج أمته. أراد ألا يحرج أمته. He wanted to ensure that he does not afflict or does not subject his ummah to any kind of difficulty or hardship, meaning that this kind of a jam' that was done by the Prophet was to demonstrate the hukum, and for us to avail it, if you want to avail this concession, it should be in case of haraj. In case of haraj, when Ibn Abbas said "Arada alla yuhrija ummatahu," the Prophet intended to ensure that the ummah is not subject to any kind of difficulty and hardship. Goes on to show the Prophet intended the demonstration of this udhr, of this concession, of this rukhsa. And for us, we cannot do it without any udhr, because the Prophet was doing it for demonstration, not for the fact that he himself had some kind of udhr. As for us, we are only allowed to take this concession only when there is a proper udhr. So without that, the salat will be then invalid. Wallahu a'lam. The asal is that you pray each salat at its time, and if there is any extreme difficulty and great hardship in doing so, then of course you can come back. Sometimes it happens with the people who are ill, masalan, that they have to sleep for very long hours. Masalan, they have just had an operation and they have been given medicines that make them keep them asleep for long hours. In this case, it's not possible for them to stay awake for each salat. So, for example, they can wake up for Dhuhr and pray Dhuhr and Asr together, and then wake up late at night, masalan, after the Isha, after sleeping for another 8-9 hours, and then they can offer Maghrib and Isha together, and then they can go to sleep again. So, in this kind of a case, this udhr will be very helpful. Also, we used to mention the case of a person who's commuting, for example, and he boards the mode of transport before Asr, and then he eventually reaches his home at Maghrib time. Sometimes it happens in countries where people are very busy and they have to commute for long hours or travel in buses for long hours. They have to ride and board the bus at a time before some salat, and then they reach their home at the time of the next salat. So especially in salawat that have a very short time for them. For example, Maghrib, and you have to ride the bus before Maghrib by half an hour, 15 minutes, and then you will reach your home at Isha. So in this kind of a case, we said that we have two options now. either you pray, combine the salat and pray it in the right way, facing the qibla while still being in the standing position. Or if the other option is you offer the salat without facing the qibla and while in the sitting position. So in this case, we said it is better to, if the correct thing to do will be to combine the salawat and pray in the while facing the qibla and in the standing position, because these are the shurut and arkan of the salat. If we are able to complete, if we are able to fulfill them, then this will be correct, and this will be considered an udhr. Wallahu a'lam. ثم قال المصنف صلاة المسافر وكذا المسافر يجوز له الجمع. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم himself he combined the prayers during safar. Also in the hadith of Ibn Abbas himself, he said, mentioned من غير سفر ولا مطر. So this goes on to show that the safar is in an udhr, a reason for which the salawat can be combined, the dhuhrain and the isha'ain, the dhuhr and asr and maghrib and isha. ويسن له القصر للصلاة الرباعية إلى ركعتين. It is sunnah for him to observe qasr, to pray the 4 rak'ah salat as 2 rak'ahs. This is a sunnah, that is how it should be done. If he prays 4 rak'ahs, it will be correct, it will be sahih. But it's sunnah to to observe the qasr. لأن الله يحب أن تؤتى رخصه كما يحب أن تؤتى عزائمه. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that his concessions are availed, just like he loves that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded is also fulfilled and acted upon. Here with regards to however, if he is praying behind an imam who is praying salat ruba'iyah, for example, he himself is a traveler, but he attends the masjid, and the masjid they are offering 4 rak'ahs, then he will follow the imam and offer 4 rak'ahs. As long as he catches part of the salat, he will be offering 4 rak'ahs. قال وله الفطر برمضان, and also the musafir, he can leave out fast during Ramadan. وله الفطر برمضان ومن صام فيصح صيامه, and if someone fasts, then his siyam is also valid. صلاة الخوف إن شاء الله, from this point from صلاة الخوف إن شاء الله بإذن الله تعالى سنكمل في الدرس القادم بإذن الله تعالى. نقف هنا ونكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. For benefit, I would ask you, like regards to Salat al-Khawf, I would want you to explain to me in the next class the sifa of Salat al-Khawf, so that over the weekend the students they go through the hadith and different sifat of Salat al-Khawf, and they understand it well, so that they can explain it inshallah in the next class, and then inshallah we will read through the kalam of the Musannif. So for the next class, inshallah, remind me if I forget. It will be the student's job, inshallah, to explain the Salat al-Khawf initially, and then inshallah we'll go to the kalam of the Musannif and explain it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. نكتفي بهذا القدر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.